In 1870, the railroads published a rate sheet. Every barrel of oil cost the same to ship. Every refinery paid the same price. That is not what actually happened. Rockefeller walked into the railroad offices with a proposal. He would fill a certain number of cars every day. Not maybe. Not when business was good. Every day. Rain or shine. He would build his own loading docks. He would insure his own cargo. He would exempt the railroad from liability if something burned. In exchange, the railroad gave him a discount. Not a secret discount. A discount for volume. For reliability. For making their system more efficient. His competitors called it a rebate. They called it unfair. They called it a conspiracy. They were right that they could not compete. They were wrong about why. The railroad did not favor Rockefeller because he was Rockefeller. The railroad favored Rockefeller because he showed up every day with a full train. The man who sells certainty gets a better price than the man who sells hope. The competitors saw the rebate and stopped. They wrote letters to newspapers. They complained to legislators. They hired lawyers. They told anyone who would listen that the system was rigged. Rockefeller built loading docks. He built storage tanks. He bought more refineries. He filled more cars. Every complaint was a competitor standing still. Every day they spent angry was a day he spent building. The rate sheet was public. The real price was private. He never asked for special treatment. He asked to be paid for what he was already doing. The railroad agreed because the railroad needed what he had. Certainty. Volume. A promise kept every morning before breakfast. You have looked at someone who wins more than you and told yourself they must be cheating, cutting corners, breaking rules, getting favors you do not get. Maybe you are right. Maybe they are. But here is what you are not asking. What did they build that you did not build? What certainty did they offer that you did not offer? What reliability did they prove while you were still proving you could show up at all? The rebate was not a gift. The rebate was a price for work the railroad did not have to do anymore. Rockefeller got paid for efficiency. His competitors got paid for complaining. The market does not reward complaining. You know this. You have seen it in your own life. The person who always delivers gets the better rate. The person who never misses a deadline gets the first call. The person who solves problems before anyone asks gets promoted while everyone else is still writing memos about why the system is unfair. You told yourself showing up every day was for people with no other options. You were wrong. And part of you already knows that. The proof is in who gets the call and who is still explaining why they deserved it. The world pays for what you prove. You have not proven it yet. Not consistently. Not to the point where losing you would cost more than keeping you. Rockefeller proved he could fill a train every day. He proved it before he asked for the discount. He proved it for months. He built the infrastructure to keep proving it. The rebate was not the beginning of the work. The rebate was the receipt. The railroads did not make Rockefeller rich. Rockefeller made the railroads rich. Before Rockefeller, the oil business was chaos. Refineries opened and closed every month. Railroads had no idea how many cars to send. Prices spiked and crashed based on weather, gossip, and panic. A railroad manager in 1869 could not tell you what next Tuesday looked like. Rockefeller told him. He walked into the railroad office with a ledger. Here is what I will ship. Here is when I will ship it. Here is the price I will pay. If you agree, I will never miss a shipment. If you do not agree, I will build my own pipeline and you will get nothing. The railroad agreed, not because they loved him, because he was the only customer who acted like a partner instead of a gambler. He handed them Tuesday. He handed them Wednesday. He handed them every morning for a decade. That is not leverage. That is value so consistent it becomes infrastructure. You have been told that success is about who you know, about luck, about being in the right place at the right time. And sometimes it is. But the people who win consistently are not the luckiest ones in the room. They are the most reliable ones. They show up when they say they will. They deliver what they promise. They make it easy to say yes to them because saying no costs more. The competitors spent years trying to destroy the rebate. They testified before Congress. They wrote books. They made Rockefeller the most hated man in America. He kept building loading docks. He kept filling trains. He kept recording the numbers. While they were fighting the system, he was making himself necessary to it. You cannot legislate away a man the railroad cannot afford to lose. You cannot write enough newspaper columns to close a refinery that ships more oil than the next 5 combined. The rebate was not a secret. It was always available to anyone who built the loading docks first, anyone who filled the trains first, anyone who made themselves so necessary that the system bent around them without being asked. You do not need a rebate from a railroad. You need to become the person who solves problems before anyone asks. The person who shows up every day with a full train. The person who makes the system better just by being in it. When you are that person, the discount comes to you. You do not negotiate it. You receive it. Because removing you would cost more than rewarding you. The cost of being unreliable is not just what you lose today. It is the deal that never appears on the rate sheet. The call that goes to someone else before it reaches you. The opportunity that needed someone steady and picked the person who showed up every Tuesday without being reminded. That is the real rebate. Not the discount. The identity. The person who delivers when no one is watching. The person who records the numbers until the numbers start working for them. Pick one commitment you break regularly. Not a big one. The small one you have been explaining to yourself for months. The deadline you treat as a suggestion. The morning you keep meaning to start. The reply you leave sitting because there is always tomorrow. Look at it. Name it exactly. Now ask, what would it cost the people around you if you fixed it? Not what it would cost you. What would it give them? What certainty would it hand them that they do not have right now? That is the loading dock. You build it before you ask for anything. You prove it before you name a price. Rockefeller did not walk into the railroad and ask for a discount. He walked in with a ledger full of proof. The discount was the last conversation. Everything before was construction. You do not need to own a refinery. You need one commitment you keep without exception. One area where you become the person they cannot afford to lose. Start there. Prove it for 30 days. Then ask for what you are worth. I build the loading dock first. I build the loading dock first. I build the loading dock first.